This is James Mathers for the Digital Cinema Society at Cine Expo 2021. I'm here with my old friend Snehal Patel from Zeiss, and Zeiss has been a long-time supporter of the Digital Cinema Society, and Snehal's been a long-time friend, even many years before that. And I've been very impressed with the way Zeiss has supported education within the community. That's part of why they support the Digital Cinema Society. But they do a lot of things. They come to all the events, and you're even talking about now doing something to train camera assistants.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that we should work together in that. We want to just pass on whatever kind of education we have, whatever knowledge we have about, how equipment works, or how people can make better choices about what they use, and just get educated about optics, camera technology, accessories, everything. For filmmakers, it's a long learning process. I get to meet cinematographers that have been doing, their craft for 30, 40 years, and they're the first ones to admit that they're learning every day and just, learning new techniques or new pieces of equipment or just a new method of thinking to tell stories.
Well, I know you've been format agnostic. You talk about different sensor sizes, and
Mm-hmm.
With great authority, you're really an expert technically, and also lens metadata. You've been one that's been pushing lens metadata for a long time and helping to educate the community about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to tell you the truth, it's not like lens metadata is like the thing that people right now are using to decide on what lenses they purchase, right? It's an accessory, an add-on that maybe a lot of people don't even think about, but there's so many benefits to it, to the filmmaking process. So it's cool to teach people exactly all the different steps they can take, or what steps they can save, and how they can get information faster, how it's more efficient. Like it or not, things are becoming way more digital. Cameras are communicating a lot with all the accessories attached to them, and they're passing that information along. So we want to be part of that pipeline, because that's what helps, those of you that are doing, virtual production or green screen work or visual effects or even volumetric. You need a little bit of extra help and information. And if we can help provide it, it's great. It's not something that helps us sell lots of lenses, but it's certainly something that serves the community. And in the long run, it's going to be a big benefit. And people will, turn to products that can provide this kind of information in the future. So yeah, I think it's really important for people to learn stuff. And then, you also want people to become more efficient, so that they're not doing the laborious part of filmmaking, that they have a little bit more time for the creative part, the creative decisions, the more work, an extra day that you could spend on a shot to make it look closer to what you wanted, to your vision, than having to, do something rote and laborious. So
Yeah, well, it's
cool
not
too.
just an add-on with virtual production; it's a necessity.
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
It really, really is.
So, tell us about your latest products.
Well, we're at Cine showing off a nice setup that's showing off the new focal lengths of the Radiance lenses. So the Supreme Prime Radiance are these lenses that are like the Supreme Primes, but a modified version that give you blue flare characteristics when you want them. And we have a setup, in the booth, and you can actually see an actor on camera with a couple of cameras set up with the new focal lengths. We have the 18, the 40, 65, and 135. So now the Radiance lenses have 11 focal lengths, through the range that people can use. So it becomes a formidable set that you can use for TV shows, movies, commercials, music videos. It's not limited anymore.
So you can control the flares, and you can keep it consistent throughout the line.
Absolutely. So that's the interesting thing about the Radiance. Unlike vintage lenses where it's a hit or miss.
Yeah.
If you get a set of 5, really cool vintage lenses of any type, you're not going to get necessarily consistency on how the flares react. Even if they do blue flares, from focal length to focal length might be a different reaction. With these lenses in the Radiance line, really they're formulated to match well. So as you change focal lengths, you still get the similar characteristics of the flares. And you get the high performance of the Supreme Prime, so nice contrast levels. And we call it controllable because you can't point light from the side or something. It's not an uncoated lens that's just going to light up as soon as light hits the front element. It has to be light that's punching directly into the lens, hitting the elements that are interior in the lens design. And that's what excites that blue reflection and causes those flare characteristics, which are really interesting.
Flares with purpose.
Flares with purpose. I mean, nowadays you have all kinds of different shoots, right? So you have cinematographers that are looking for character in lenses to really give it a chance to say something about the story, to speak to something in their creative, language. So therefore, it's really important to give choices. So we have the version of the Supremes, which are a really nice base to start from. You can put LUTs on it. You can, put lots of filtration if you want to, or different types of filtration, and create a very unique look with the Supreme Primes, with the controlled flare characteristics you expect from Zeiss. And then you got this other lens where we just go crazy with the blue flares when you want to. It's controllable, so when you want to do it, you can just add some flavor. And I think that's cool to have those choices. People like to have multiple choices for multiple projects. So you might use Supremes for one project and Radiance for another, or mix the two. We have an interview today with Checo, and he actually shot Dope Sick, the new miniseries that's on Hulu, with Michael Keaton. And in that, he did use Radiance as a date play, where he just used it for special shots for certain sequences. Uses Supremes and the CZ2 cinema zooms for the rest of the show. So it has a really nice look to it, and then when he wants, he can play around and do some Radiance stuff.
Well, a lot of companies are transitioning now to covering large format. You guys have been doing that from the beginning, right?
Since 2009. So yeah, we're over a decade into having that extra coverage for the larger sensors, and I think that was the reason why compact primes became so formidable and popular, especially in the beginning, because there were already sensors, like with the Red 1 already. That was already bigger than Super 35 Academy. So there were already sensors that were growing in size. And just like in photography, we had crop sensor, digital sensors, and then all of a sudden you have the full frame Super 35, and now you have even affordable medium format, like Hasselblad style format or Phase 1, where you can really get a nice big sensor with good performance. I think large sensors are here to stay, and people will tend to use even larger stuff later on when there's equipment available that makes sense, right? Because the 65 format that Arri has, that's really exciting. That's a really cool format. Your pixels become really small at that point with the same Alexa technology that you have in the smaller cameras, like the Mini or Mini LF. With that sensor size, if you can get optics that really work with that, and unfortunately there's not a lot of good optics out there, aside from the rental houses that you can use on that format. But once that happens, I think people go even larger than they are right now. Because right now it's full frame or full frame plus, let's call it right now, which is the kind of the fashion. But I think it'll get even bigger. So you have to be prepared for the future. You have to think ahead. And I think that Zeiss was thinking ahead when they made the full frame coverage on the compact primes and then the CZ2 cinema zooms. And then, of course, when developing the Supremes and Radiance, it wasn't even a question. We just knew that this was the way to go.
Well, thank you. Thank you for educating us. I always find that when I sit down and talk to you, I learn something, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say one thing. I want to thank you, first of all, for having this service of the Digital Cinema Society, working through the pandemic and still bringing content to viewers and still educating, doing online events and stuff like this. But I also want to wholeheartedly thank our on-set workers, everyone in our industry that's on set, working those 12, 14, 17 hours a day. We feel you. You are the frontline workers for our industry. Because of you, we are all here. And we want to help you out as much as we can. So we'll do our best for the education or, late night calls with DPs that are having issues. We'll do that. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that people keep working and doing your craft. Keep making the content and go out there. And we're just really proud of you. And we care about you. So be safe and keep doing what you do. And we're here to support you. So thank you for everything.
Great positive message. Thanks again.
Thank you.